I'm going to be very transparent here because transparency is key to me. I had to switch devices, so I'm trying to get my run of show to open up. So, if Kimberly, if you could drop in the chat who's up next, and then by the time the next presenter is up, I will have it up. Miss Dana Starr is up next. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you. All right. Hey, Dana, how are you? So good to
Hi.
see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jamie. Good to see you and good to be here.
And thank you so much for your support this morning and letting me know when I'm on mute and off mute and not hearing me and chopped up. I appreciate you. I'm going to pass the stage over to you and let you do your thing. Thanks again for joining us again.
My pleasure. And you have the slides there for me? Or should I just share my own screen? Can I share? Okay, I will share. Okay, just give me a second, everybody, to pull that up. Can you see my screen okay? Okay, I don't think you can share on this. You can share in a second. Okay, thanks, Kim. Just waiting for my slides. And while she's pulling the slides up, I just want to say thank you for having me. I love this Juneteenth event and how you give back to the community and really helping to forge better relationships. And that's what the theme is this year is family unity. And I'm really excited to give a few tips and tricks on really up-leveling authentic communication between you as the family unit. There we go. Thank you very much. Um, and and really why that's so important is because the family unit is where it all begins, right? A healthy family creates healthy contributing adults, and as the pastor said in the beginning, we don't want all that was fought for to be lost. And we do live in a highly distracted world, and there's a lot of things that can break apart a family. So whether you're a single parent or whether you are co-parenting, um, there will be something in this presentation for you that you can take away to really connect and inspire your children and your family as a unit. So if you can go to the next slide, thank you very much. Perfect. So a little bit about me. I'm Dana Starr. I'm the founder of the Inspired Life Design Studio. I specialize in legacy building and leadership development. You first start becoming a leader in your home, and that's why it's so important to have a strong family unit. And bottom line, I just help people be the leader in their life, their habits, and ultimately create the results and the legacy that they're proud of. I'm also a sickle cell warrior. I've battled sickle cell my entire life. And the Lord has helped me turn that pain into purpose and inspire others into action by using what their perceived weaknesses are as their strengths. So, next slide. Thank you. So, today, as we talk about building the family unit, how do we up level authentic communication and connect? Well, think about what are some of your biggest challenges that you're facing right now. Whether you're raising little ones, teenagers, or you've got adult children, what's your biggest challenge? If you look at the screen, is it the attitudes? Is it the social media, temper tantrums, and whining? We have three little ones right now. And plus, we have my husband's youngest sister. She's an adult. But I can tell you right now, the little ones, it's the whining and the chores, the temper tantrums. So think about that. Next slide, please. What are we going to do? Right? It feels hopeless and helpless sometimes. Being a parent or managing a home is the greatest blessing. It can also be the greatest challenge. But the good news is there are several things that we can do to help continue to foster growth and connection and really come together as a family unit really strong to really help navigate through the challenges that we're currently facing in our world, in our school system, and how to be productive human beings really starts in the home. And so if you think I've tried and I failed, there's no such thing. Failure is just a one-time event, right? It does not define you. It does not define your relationship. If you're in a strained relationship with your child right now, or you having a lot of conflict, this will really help you. These tips that I'm about to share will really help you figure out how best to connect and complement each other and not have that conflict and friction. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the 4 different behavioral styles that we are truly all a blend of, but under stress or pressure, we have these dominant styles or attributes that show themselves. And so after that, I'm also going to talk through what are some motivating statements for each individual child. As you think about your child, you can even think about your partner, right? And how their style presents itself. And it might actually create more cohesiveness as you are rearing up your children and being the disciplinarians and the role models for your children. So I'll show some motivators to really connect to the giftedness of each individual style. And then I'll end the presentation with 5 family traditions you can start today that'll really keep the momentum going. So next slide, please. Perfect. Unlocking the child's potential really does set them up for success to experience the connection, understand natural strengths, behavioral styles, and motivations. And so when I say that, our behavioral styles really are a blend of 3 things. One, how we were raised, right? What was modeled for us and reinforced by role models that we saw. Those are sometimes those generational bonds that hold us, right? What we've inherited. And the third one is our life experience within the environment that we have been around. And so these 3 critical pieces are what make up your style and will have a ripple effect into how you parent your children and what type of unity you're creating in the home. So you set the tone in the home, and that tone can either be fun, creative, relaxed, or it could be tense and scary, or an area of conflict or unsafe, right? And so as parents, it's our job to really help figure out what are the gaps and how do we foster each individual child with each individual personality style and really help them feel safe and creative and that they are respected and valued. And so, one of the ways that we can do that is to really understand what our style is, what are those generational gaps of how we grew up, and how is it impacting our children today, and how do we move forward with new ideas and creative ways. So, before I just jump into the behavioral style, I have a funny joke to share because if you're a parent or in a part of a family, right, humor is very important. And so, this is the recipe for iced coffee for parents. Maybe you've heard this. Number 1, have kids. Number 2, make coffee. 3, forget that you've made the coffee. And 4, drink it cold, right? How many of you resonate with that? We eat cold food, we drink cold drinks because we're busy multitasking and trying to manage working and being a fully present parent at the same time. And another one is, I have parenting down to a science. Every day is an experiment. And it's funny, but there's also a lot of truth in that. We can't get hung up on what's happened in the past or how we were raised. We just really need to experiment and try what works best for our child. So if you can go to the next slide, I'm going to dive into these styles here. So the first style you see here, and I want you to think as I'm speaking, think about your child or even a friend, right? Apply this to you, make it really customized. Think of this the child that you know who is a born leader. They are responsible, they're very goal oriented, they're organized, and they take action in emergencies, right? They don't paralyze or freeze. Like they're the go to person, right? They're the ones the teacher may say is just a helper in the classroom and sets the tone in the class. If you think of that child, a lot of times that's what we call a D-wired child, and their stress pattern under pressure will reveal itself where they may be very resistant, strong-willed, sometimes rebellious or angry. demanding or controlling. And that's just how they are under pressure. So, how in the world, you say, do I motivate or connect to my child? And the good thing is, if you're seeing these stress patterns, just know that there is a way that they really respond to. And I'm going to show that on the next slide. Perfect. Motivators. So the motivators for children that are wired with this D style, where they're very, independent, is to give them an opportunity to be in charge. So think about how you delegate tasks in your home. Think about projects. Think about solutions that you could work through or talk through with your child, right? Give them that opportunity that will actually connect to their giftedness. And some of the ways of what that looks like when you're speaking to them is, I like that you're very confident in yourself. Not the, "Oh, you seem to know everything, huh, Mr. Smarty Pants," but the really, "I like that you're confident. I like that you set your mind to something and you do it," right? Compliment what they do really well, because as parents, we tend to see really quickly what they don't do well, and we need to really encourage the behavior of what they're doing well so that they can feel motivated and inspired to keep doing those things. I like that you're committed and decisive. And I kind of call it the bookends, right? Give the compliment and then say, where I could use your help or support is here. And then bookend it with another compliment. So we're going to move right on to the next style. I'm going to move through these pretty quickly, but don't worry, you can always find me and we could do a complimentary session to understand your family's specific needs. And so the next style is the I. And this behavioral style is characterized by being very outgoing, right? This person is usually the life of the party. So if you're thinking of your kids, who's the one that performs at family functions, right? Who's dancing and having a good time, very creative, very talkative. Um, Under stress, what you may observe with this specific style is that they may be more active, right? They might be a vocal processor where they speak a lot under stress and need to talk. And that might be where you need to turn your time and attention to let them really speak through the challenges they're facing. They can also be impatient and loud, right? And I is kind of like it's their world and we live in it and we love that world because it's fun. Think of your children who are attention seekers. This is a good thing, but also could be a challenge in that they might even respond to negative attention. And they're also pretty big with emotional displays. So, how do we connect to these children? How do we inspire and really have an authentic relationship? If you go to the next slide, give them an opportunity to socialize and talk, right? So this isn't the child that's going to respond to kids are meant to be seen and not heard, right? Kids are not to express how they feel. This is when you think about your home environment. Is it open? Is there quality time, which we'll talk about at the end of my presentation, for your children to come share about the wins of the day, what was their favorite part of the day, what they failed at, right, during the day, and what challenges they're working on. These children really need that open space to socialize and talk. And also, as you think of a discipline, right? When you're disciplining a child that is this style, the best way to really connect with them is to remove that socialization or talking, as opposed to some other form of discipline. That's where it really is going to matter to them because they love people and respond to socializing. And so, connecting to their giftedness in terms of what it sounds like is, I like that you're fun to be with, right? Point out and observe those fun things that your children are doing. I like that you're a friendly person. I like your enthusiasm. It's contagious, right? But maybe in church, we should tone it down a little bit. And then as soon as we get out, like crank it back up again. Just a way to really praise the child and acknowledge them and really up level that connection with them. So, next one, please. Perfect. So this style is considered the S. S you could think of as stable, steady. So think of your child that's a little bit more reserved, opposite of the one we just talked about, right? And again, you could also think about this in terms of your spouse, right? Think of your spouse that's a little bit more reserved or quiet, um, very easygoing. They like consistency. They are reliable and dependable. These are good babysitters. These are the ones that are going to be on the lookout. Under stress, however, or under pressure, they can become submissive or stubborn depending on what the threat is to their particular security. Because remember, this child really values security, and they will reach out for relationships. So if you think of your child who's not necessarily the social butterfly, they just have a small number of friends, but they're really good quality friends. That's the type of person that resonates with this specific style, and they will go out of their way to be the peacekeeper. So the peacekeeper is great because they're really good at conflict resolution and management, even though they don't necessarily like it. They like to resolve and make sure everybody's happy. But what to watch out for is that a lot of times they'll lose themselves and it'll come at the expense of themselves. And so you want to make sure you really connect to these children, or if this is your spouse. So on the next slide, we'll look at what their motivators are. And that is to emphasize you need their help and give them an additional boost of confidence by ensuring that they have what they need to succeed. So again, remembering security is key, right? For this particular style of child, as you're thinking through, yeah, that sounds like my son or my daughter, right? As you're thinking through this, think of what could you say that would really connect with the child. I like that you are a caring person. I like that you try to get along with others. I like that you are compassionate, right? Reinforce those positive affirmations of their characteristics so that they feel safe to continue to express it and create the home environment that allows for that space. So we'll go on to the next. Okay, so this is the C style. And C, you can think of as compliant, right? This is your child. If you're thinking about your child who's very analytical, very logical, also somewhat more reserved, they are creative, but they're very conscientious. They seek perfection, right? Which could be a little dangerous because perfection could have them move really slowly or not take action on things because they're so worried about getting it right. This specific style also is their worst critic. They are highly critical of themselves. They have a really high standard because they are so detail oriented and such a deep thinker. So think of where you could leverage that strength in your child. They are really great problem solvers as well. They are really great. If you're working on a presentation, they're great helping you figure out if you get stuck on something. So really letting them exercise that strength. And then some of the stress signals or under pressure signals would be they are overly cautious, right? And like I said, highly, highly critical. Sometimes that comes off as being very pessimistic. We think of them as like the fun sponge, right? They always think of something negative, right? And we say, oh, why are you always complaining? Why are you complaining? But really, it's just that they are highly critical and they're detail oriented. They tend to blame others and they become very technical. So you'll usually see them in very technical professions, like in the tech space, artistry, things like that. So we'll move on to the next slide so I can talk through the motivators. It's very important that these children who are wired in this way have an opportunity to research, analyze, and ask questions, right? This might be your child you're thinking of that's like, all right, you've already asked me 100 questions. Why are there so many questions? But that's how they learn. That's how they process. And that's your opportunity as the parent to really connect with them in an undistracted way, and help to answer those questions they have about life or about a friend or about how things work, right? And again, this could also be a spouse. This could give answers to why your spouse has their certain disciplinary style or how their generational bonds have now revealed themselves in this way. Here's the connected language is I like how you always try to do your best, right? I like that you like things to be organized. I like that you listen to what others say and feel. These are really great strengths to keep reinforcing in your child, rather than the negative ones. And so when we think about now we've looked at these four different behavioral styles, really write down, if you had to guess what your children are, what would their style be and how does this impact the way you're going to approach them, motivate them, and inspire them to create great things in life? And now the second part is how do we use all of our styles as a blend to complement each other as a family unit? And so I'm going to go through five family traditions that are really helpful in fostering growth, connection, and creating the open space where each family member feels respected and valued for their individual style. So if you go on to the next slide. Perfect. You can keep going. All right. So here's the action steps. Number one, you want to have family discussions on a regular basis. This shouldn't be like, once a year or never happens, right? You want to think back. Think back to your favorite family memories, right? It could be a Sunday family dinner where you sat around and had discussions in an informal way. Think about family reunions. think about maybe you've had scheduled family discussions where you got to take the floor. This is a great time to think of each child and have each of them rotate running the family meeting. And this way you can discuss what worked well this week, who needs some support this week, where are the gaps, right? Open the forum to have that discussion in the way that whoever's leading the meeting really responds well. And again, the communication styles, they're like currency, right? You're investing in your child in the way that they receive, not in the way that you receive, right? So the investment only works and fills up their bank when it's in their exact currency. So this is the way to get it right, is just have these frequent check-ins and make sure that you're checking in with each child, but also seeing how they run the meeting tells you a lot about their style. Next slide, please. Okay, create a family vision. This is one of my favorites. Without a vision, the people perish, right? It's really important that you have a family vision. What do you want to be known for as a family? Are you the fun family that friends come and hang out at? Are you the one where it's tense and not a lot of people come over? You're very private, reserved. Do you want to be open and honest? What do you want to be known for? So this is actually a fun one because you can have a family fun night and actually create a family vision board and have each child cut out pictures or words that define what they each want to be known for in the family. And then as a family unit, come together with this vision and check in and make sure you're living out that vision so that you have a common set of language, a common set of ground rules and framework that breaks again the generational bonds from the past that were unhealthy and now institutes a positive one. Next slide, please. Take the time to really observe your family to determine what their special interests are. As I just went through each of those styles, you'll see some of your children are more artistic, some of them are more sports and athletic, some of them are really quiet, and then you've got the social butterflies, right? Really see what their special interests are and schedule a date with each individual child so that they have the space to be free and talk and communicate, or maybe they wouldn't share that if they're around everybody else. So write down something fun that you can do with each family member. That's your action step, and involve yourself in doing it every single month. This will really invest in your child's bank and fill them up because the world we know is taking a lot of deposits from them. So next slide, please. Okay, perfect. Again, when we talk about bank, make deposits in your family memory bank. Well, how can you do that? Now this talks about experiences, right? So this is not gifts, this is not money. This is like an experience that your child's going to look back and remember the rest of their life. Just like if you think about experiences you've had with your loved ones, it really is fun to look back at, and it really shaped who you are and how you parent. And so list one experience that you will deposit into the memory bank of your family per week. And so after we leave this discussion, it's going to be nice to hear and then it goes to the back burner. But I really challenge you to look at your family dynamic and look at these simple steps that you can implement and talk as a family over what experiences you want to share. That'd be a great thing to talk about when you're having a family meeting. And then make it happen. Next one, please. Okay, so this is the last of the 5 action steps as a family that you can do to build healthy family traditions and communication is love equals time, right? Time equals love. Our children crave our attention, and especially because social media has taken over, right? The internet, a lot of people are working from home, work life integration is tough to balance. And so, really make it a point to not just spend time with your kids, but undistracted time. And even if you've got to find 10, 15-minute 30-minute gaps in your schedule and say, okay, 30 minutes, turning the phone off. I'm going away from all technology. I'm just going to go sit with my child. And again, look at their behavioral style and see in what way should you connect? In what communicating language and motivators should you use in that time to just hear them, right? To just really understand them and give that undistracted time with each member weekly. Really set a weekly goal. So I'm going to move on to the last. Oh, by the way, that's me and my dad. My dad took off of work to attend that award ceremony, and that meant a lot to me, right? So even, not all of us can always take off of work, but find where you could take a half day and surprise your child and take them on a date, and take them just to have quality time with you. Okay, so fast forward to the next slide. Thank you. You do not have to do it alone. That is the beauty of community, the community that's been created here with Juneteenth. and all of the special people that you meet, you really need your family board of directors of who can help you stay on task. And so if you're looking for ways to really continue to up level the communication in your home and have that authentic connection, and you want a more customized approach, there are ways of doing that. There's actually detailed reports. There's a student success report that really looks at the child, their fears, their motivators, their strengths, and what those stress patterns are, and how you can better help the child. And the same for parents. There is a report that you can simply take. It takes 15 minutes and it gives you back 30 pages of your autobiography on how to better understand your style, those generational bonds that might be revealing themselves in an unhealthy way, and how you can flip that into positive empowerment, communication, speaking, and really, really connect and not give up. So here's my information. Here's my website if you're interested in a complimentary session to really understand how to up level that communication, because the family home is the first institution, it's the most important institution that really needs to be unified. And it takes work, it takes intentionality. It doesn't just happen on its own. It doesn't happen because you have the last name and you live in the same home. It takes work to really not just be coexisting, but really co-creating the life and the family, and most importantly, the legacy that you were meant for. Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you so much, Dana. It was such a pleasure to have you back again. And look forward to seeing you again. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye bye.